And welcome back, Team Bedrock. This is your host TNCOBS, and today we're going to be taking a look at another redstone tutorial. And as you guys can probably see on my arm, I got something a little different. It's a redstone torch. I know. It looks horrible, but when I switch my game view, it's on my arm, which I actually thought was pretty cool. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it, because I wanted to show and explain a few different things that I have on here. Now, I did have one person state that to put the mobs on a half slab, and I couldn't remember why I didn't do it. And basically, kind of here is why. If we put them on a half slab, right, and then we may be able to crush the baby zombies here, but it doesn't attack the adult zombies, which is here. And we want to be able to attack the adult zombies because we get those by far a lot more than the babies. And as I've said, in the truly Bedrock server, you know, you could just kill these guys with like a sword or something, and you know, it's not even that big of a deal because you get a lot more of the adults than you do of the babies. So if we come over here, you can see where, yes, it may not kill the babies, but it does kill the adults. Up here kind of doesn't do anything, and like I said, it just kind of works better with the trapdoor rather than the half slab, because if I did the half slab, we would have to have both of these extend, and although I don't have a build where you use two pistons, I only have the build where you use the single piston, which is the bottom one. Maybe in the future, if you guys want, I can try and build something for a double piston extension. Or not a double piston extension, but having two sticky pistons extend to kill both or to soften up both. But I don't know, like I said, I just didn't see a big necessary or a big need in that. So let me just go ahead and show you guys. This is the machine that I have made, and I've put it on the Truly Bedrock server. And you know, this is kind of how it works. You guys can see a lot of the mechanics around here, plus I also have the redstone lamp signal right here, which on my episode of Truly Bedrock, I didn't really have the redstone lamp working the way I wanted it to. And as you guys can see, everything on here is fairly simple to set up. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually explain a little bit on how some of these things work in this system. So now that those guys are dying over there, you can basically, like I've showed you on the episode of Truly Bedrock, that the timings are just basically perfect. And one thing I should have, you know, maybe recorded and showed you guys is that the drops that come off of the zombies, they all went inside this chest. For some reason, on rounds, they just shoot everywhere. But on a single player world, kind of like where I'm at right now, it all goes down and it all goes into the chest, and they don't kind of shoot everywhere. So I haven't figured out a way maybe to fix that, or maybe to kind of work with that on a server, other than maybe placing, you know, hoppers around everywhere to maybe collect the items for you, which that equals a lot of iron. And well, we want to kind of keep our resources at a minimum, because usually a zombie spawner is beginning game. It's game starting findings, as you guys can see from my Broke Rock SMP series and from the Truly Bedrock SMP series. So basically what we use for this system is what we call an etho hopper clock. The etho hopper clock, basically what it does is it's a clock. It's basically just like this. However, I tried using this system over there, and it just made it way bulky, and it was really hard to get the timings exactly right. So yeah, this system, although it works, it wasn't the best for this build. The etho hopper clock was the best. And although I don't have all the items necessary for either one of those machines, I wanted to show you, when you flip the lever, the redstone comes this way, right? The redstone block. So wherever that redstone block is, it's going to light, or basically ignite, or, you know, kind of maybe activate some kind of switch. And as you guys can see, it kind of just goes back and forth, back and forth. And from my command block video for the ore generator, you guys can also kind of maybe take a look at the amount of items that you have in here. And for it to go there and then back once, it's the amount of items that are in here minus 2, and that's how many seconds it takes. So since there's 16 items in here, it takes 14 seconds for that redstone to go from that way and then back this way again. So yeah, it's kind of almost an exact time on anything that you're trying to use a clock for. Okay, so first things first, the easiest way that I found to kind of maybe get things set up and to get things started, as you guys can tell, I do have clear glass on here. We're going to have our basic killing chamber, our killing area, where basically the mobs get filtered into a 1x1 area. They stand on top of this trapdoor for the baby zombies to kind of make sure that they don't attack us. Then you have a hopper underneath to collect any items that go down, and then of course they go inside of the chest. Okay, so the reason why I don't have glass all the way around, one, so you can smack them right here, and two, because you're going to need a solid block right here to their left, or to the left of your killing area, because when we put the dispenser up there for the water, we're going to use that block to power the dispenser and then depower it within the system. Okay, so right off the bat, what we can do is set this up and then go into setting up our first etho hopper clock. Now, the items that we are going to need are not really resource heavy, but it will require maybe to go into the nether because we're going to be using a lot of repeaters. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we need. We're going to need about 6 comparators, 1 repeater, 7 pieces of redstone, 6 hoppers, 4 regular pistons, 2 sticky pistons, 1 dispenser, 1 water bucket to put inside of that dispenser. We obviously are going to need the trapdoor to put the zombies on top of. We're going to need 2 redstone torches, 1 button of your choice. It doesn't have to be acacia, it doesn't have to be wooden, it could be stone or wooden. I just prefer to use wooden buttons. We're going to need a building block, and we can use some redstone slabs or blocks, or not redstone slabs. We can use stone slabs or building blocks, whichever of your choice. I like to use the slabs because they do look cleaner. We're going to need a redstone lamp for the indicator. Need about 7 pieces of glass. You don't have to use glass. You can use building blocks if you so decide. It's all in how you want your build to look. But I'm going to use glass because I like to kind of see what's going on. We're going to need a chest, so that way one of these hoppers that go underneath the zombies, you'll be able to collect those items. And then of course you're going to need to be able to get some zombies in there. So however you guys decide to get the zombies, you're probably going to use a mob grinder like I've used on the Truly Bedrock server. And yeah, that's pretty much what you're going to need. I don't know why I have that piece of redstone in here. So yeah, let's kind of start off with the redstone torch. Right, we're going to use some of these building blocks, the slabs, and we already have our button set up on our machine right over here. And then we're going to also need the hoppers, the comparators, some dust, and some regular pistons, so that way we can kind of get things going for the first etho hopper clock. But the way we're going to kind of go on to begin this is I found the best way to kind of know where things are is you're going to want to come under here. You're going to go 1 down 1 block, down another block, throw your slab or your building block that you so choose, put your redstone torch here, and just to verify that you are getting signal, you're going to want to throw the redstone down right here, so that way we are getting the signal. So when we do press this button, it turns that redstone off, which will then activate our first etho hopper clock. And these 2 blocks are not needed. You can actually put some kind of building material there for your build design. So from the second piece of redstone, we're actually going to be starting the etho hopper clock. So we actually need to make this a full block, right? Because that's where the piston is going to be coming out of, right here. Okay, and then that signal is also going to change based off of a comparator. So we're going to do the full etho hopper clock. We're going to throw a slab right there. We're going to put a comparator right here. Okay, and then we're going to grab some hoppers. Now the hopper, yes, obviously is facing into the comparator, but we need both hoppers to face into each other, because when both hoppers face into each other, that's how items move from one to the other. Okay, so now we're going to grab our another comparator, which is going to be on this slab right over here. We're going to throw that comparator down. Then we're going to need another solid block for that comparator to read out of. Okay, and then we're going to throw another redstone on top of that. we're gonna grab a, oops, and apparently I must have forgotten to actually put it in the items that we need, but we need also a redstone block, because the redstone block is basically what is going to power each hopper, so that way the items move only in one direction. Alright, it was starting to rain there, so I had to change it to the weather cycle to be false, just like I've done with the daylight cycle. I had to turn that one to false also. Okay, so now we're going to be using this signal from this redstone block when it comes this direction, and that's how we're going to make it to where we power our dispenser. But let's go ahead and set up our lamp, our indicator lamp, just to basically show when the machine is ready to be used again. Okay, and for that we'll need a hopper right here and a comparator on the other side of that hopper right there. Okay, and what we're going to be using is the timing system from the etho hopper clock and the amount of items that are inside. Now the items that we need inside is going to be 64, so 1 stack, plus 50, and then 1. So let's grab some items here. Now it doesn't really matter what items you use. You can use any old items that you have laying around, extra feathers that you might have just laying around from your chicken cooker, or you know, some cobblestone. It doesn't matter, as long as it's any stackable item. You're gonna need 64 plus 51. And so for our first one, we're gonna throw our 64 and 51 in here. Those actually have to move because I put those on the wrong side. Should have put them over here, but that's okay because we're still working on the build. And then on this side, we're going to do the 64 plus the 1. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention as part of my setup for the Truly Bedrock server, we might want to cover this up just to make sure that no items do get stuck in there. One thing that kind of helps with that is to make this also a solid block, so that way this redstone actually powers that hopper, and therefore if any items get spewed out anywhere, they will not go into that hopper. But just to be on the super safe side, because when you do hit the button, it does depower. You don't want anything to get stuck in that hopper and kind of mess up the timing. The top of the etho hopper is kind of protected from the from pistons up here on the top. Items don't really fall down through the pistons, so you should be pretty safe on there. But if you want to cover it up, you are more than welcome to, just like I said, to be on an extra safe aspect. Okay, so now our redstone comparator is also going to be coming out and reading from that hopper right here, the 64 and 51, which when this hopper right here has less items than the hopper that is over here, then the indicator light that we're going to be putting right here in front is not going to have, or is not going to be activated, which means that the machine is still in a sense working and not ready to be going again, which basically, like I said, this kind of sets it up to where when you press this button once for the first time, no matter how many times you push it, until that redstone lamp comes back on again, it's not going to work, which means it won't mess up the system in any other kind of way. So this etho hopper clock not only gives us 2 uses, which is an indicator light and a timer, it's also going to be useful for setting up the crusher system. Okay, so now we're going to grab some regular, or not regular, but sticky pistons. We don't need this anymore, and I'm probably going to throw that out of my inventory. So let's grab those sticky pistons. We need the dispenser, we need water, and that should be it for right now, because we're going to be throwing that water inside of the dispenser. So let's go ahead and head on top of the etho hopper clock, and what we want to do is we want to put a sticky piston right here. And I also forgot another item, the observer block. Man, I really should have got my resources together a little bit more ahead of time. I thought I had everything, but I didn't. So yeah, we are going to need an observer also for this. Now the observer you want to face away from you, just like that. Okay, so when this observer does come down, because this machine is now depowered, that is going to be the time that we want the water to be pushed to the zombies, I do believe. So we're going to go ahead and throw a comparator right here. Not a comparator. We're going to throw a half slab right here. And you know, I don't know what's going on, but I've noticed that there's been a slight bug where certain areas that I click, instead of it putting down one, it'll put down more than one. It's something weird with clicking half slabs in certain areas, and I'm not sure what it is. So we're just going to leave it as a full block because it's not necessarily something that's super imperative. So we're going to throw a repeater right over here on the other side of this observer, which again, like I said, certain areas that I click, for some reason it wants to do it more than once. We don't need to add any extra time delay. We could just basically get it to where the observer, when it comes down, it powers that block, which will then power the dispenser. So let's go ahead and throw the dispenser up here just so that way we know it's actually being activated and working. And of course we want to make sure that the dispenser is facing in the direction towards the zombies, so that way it dispenses the water inside where they are at. The next thing that we want to do is put a solid block right behind that one. So that way when the observer gets moved up and or down, it detects a change, a block change, and it will power and then depower the water system as needed through this ether hopper clock. Now that we have the observer set up, we can now take a redstone torch, take it off of this block right here, or at least the signal, and we can come back to power the next etho hopper clock. And this is another reason why we use slabs, because this does help with keeping from powering any other device that, or any other item that we don't want powered. So yeah, we're gonna use that to go back to the next etho hopper clock, which is gonna be right back here. And now that I'm looking at this, I realize that I set this actually too low. This actually needs to be right up next to the observer. So this is where we would want the slabs to be, so that way we can run the signal off of there. And the reason why we want it up a little bit higher is so that way we can get the etho hopper clock to be right here where we're going to want the crusher system, which, by the way, that should be a solid block. So let's go ahead and run this redstone signal all the way across right here, and then right here we'll also want a solid block instead of just a slab, because we're going to be running a comparator into that signal for our second etho hopper clock, which is going to be right there. So let's go ahead and grab our hoppers, and of course, like I said, you want both hoppers to be facing into each other, just like that. Let's get the next comparator set up, which is going to come out to here. We don't need these blocks. To me, it just looks cleaner this way. Put our comparator, and we're also going to need another solid block with a piece of redstone dust on top. Now, we need to grab some of our regular pistons, which I'm just going to throw this out of here and grab a regular piston from right here, just to kind of make things a little bit simpler. And, whoops, if I can do my crouch, there's one piston, there's the other piston. So now, toss that out, grab our redstone block, throw it right here, and now we have the second etho hopper clock. Now this etho hopper clock is going to be used for the crusher system, so that way this piston, or not set up yet, but so that way this piston will actually go and crush the zombies when we want them to. So that's where you would want to put that sticky piston for the crusher. So let's go ahead and grab another half slab. We're going to toss that right in here, but we need a shift click. There we go. We're going to grab our repeater, put it right there. And you don't have to do a solid block, but I mean, it kind of keeps things hidden. So we're going to put another solid block right there. Now, our system is ready for the crusher. However, we need the correct amount of items inside of these hoppers, so that way we can make sure that the timings are all set. Like I said, using the etho hopper clock is really good when it comes to world/realm /server lag, so that way this machine will only move as fast as the world is moving, and when you crush the zombies, they will only take damage as fast as the world is moving, or the world/realm is moving. So let's go ahead and grab a few items, because we're going to need 25 items inside of that hopper. So we got our 25 bookshelves. We're going to just toss in here because that's the side that we want it to be on, because that's where the block is, and those items will not move over here. Not that it really matters, because once we get the machine all working and everything is set to where it needs to be, there will be no issues. So I think that is just about everything all set up. Very quick, very simple, very easily, and very compact. If you guys have any questions, concerns, you guys can always shoot me some comments. You guys can always hit me up on Discord or even Twitter. I will answer them the best way that I can. But before we take off, let's go ahead and actually test this out to make sure everything's working. Let me go ahead and grab some glass. We're going to stack this up because we want to make sure that that water that needs to be inside of this dispenser is not going to flow out anywhere. So let's go ahead and hit our button because our red indicator light is on. The water dispenses. We're going to sit here and wait. Once he starts shaking, then that means it is time for the crusher to activate after the zombie turns into a drowned. And here we are where he is shaking. Once he's done shaking, he will transform, and then the crusher system should begin to bring him down to one hit. There he is, taking damage. And as soon as that retracts, we can smack him one time, and he is a goner, and we collected that lovely, lovely XP. Let's see if he dropped anything good. Nope, just one piece of rotten flesh. If you use this system with a looting 3 sword, you will be getting tons and tons of tridents, and you'll be getting tons and tons of nautilus shells. You really don't need to use it if you're using it with a zombie grinder. You really don't need to kind of waste a looting 3 sword on these guys, to be honest, because as much tridents as you get from the zombies, from the drowned, you really don't need to worry about it. However, you can get some higher level, tridents that don't have as much damage. Again, I hope that tutorial was very helpful for you guys and you guys are able to utilize this in some of your world builds. If you have any questions, concerns, you can always hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up in the comment section, and you can even hit me up on Discord. That's usually where I'm at most of the time, is in Discord. So yeah, definitely hit me back. Let me know if you need any assistance, and then we'll go from there. Oh, and one more thing, guys. Don't forget, this is TNCOBS one button system. So yeah, TNC one button system. Let's make it a thing, guys. Hashtag TNCOBS. All right, you guys, and I'll catch you on the flip side.